Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Well, no, I
Or
want to
comment?
respond on what you said. What I thought was, it can be mindful to set boundaries, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because she said, well, where does the mindfulness stop? And I was thinking, well, it can be mindful to set your boundaries.
Yeah, I always do that, of course, otherwise I wouldn't sit here, but, but sometimes it feels rude and sometimes it feels like a missed opportunity, because then in court a week later or the next time he or she says something and I think, oh my gosh, if I listened 15 minutes more, I would have known that, or I would have suspected that he would say that. So that's, I always feel kind of a regret sometimes when people start saying things in court. I'm like, oh. So that's, I think it's very difficult to handle your time in a mindful way with clients with a lot of problems and a whole lot of, sometimes a life story. And always, of course, I try to be polite and finish everything, but sometimes you regret not taking more time. And even in a prison environment where your time is sometimes limited and the atmosphere is not that good or that favorable for a nice or good conversation, then sometimes I can be mindful as can be, but then you sometimes miss nuances. Or
But this goes back to the first question about regrets about a decision that you've been forced to make. You've taken responsibility. And I think mindfulness can, it's not, it can just give you a framework for holding that sense of regret.
And let it go then.
And let it go.
Yeah.
That's right. Without letting it eat you up. And we all have that experience. And sometimes, my experience is the longer you do it, the better you get at it.
And we have an appeal system.
Sometimes your client doesn't want to appeal because the police judge is like a wishy-washy verdict where...
Did you want to add anything to that?
Also,
Okay, two more questions, then I want to, you and you.
My understanding mindfulness is about noticing your own feelings or some stress in the situation, and to be able to speak up about it and then let it go or do it. So in your example, if you would have that regularly, you would notice it really, and you could decide whether it's part of the job and that's about it, and let it go, or that it's actually a signal that you want to do things differently, and you can shape your practice.
And I want to I think that's a very good point. And we shouldn't expect too much of ourselves. We're talking about changing deeply ingrained patterns and practices and habits. But if you keep doing, if you stick with it, then over time you see these benefits. Yeah.
Yes, we will talk about mindfulness now from a very individual perspective, like how we've been talking about mindfulness from a very individual perspective, like how a judge and a lawyer's experience can, how you become, in fact, become more happy with work. But at what stage of mindfulness in law does compassion towards others, and towards the society, enter, so that not only the lawyer himself becomes more mindful of his work, but the whole society benefits from his mindfulness?
Thank you for that question. My view is that as you cultivate mindfulness, you should also, the tendency will be for empathy to grow, which is the foundation for compassion. That you can make a connection between yourself and this other person. You have a kind of an understanding of that other person, which is the foundation for compassion. Because you can see that you could have been that person if a lot of different circumstances had changed. And I think it's important as we cultivate our own mindfulness to help deal with our stress. The good news is that the natural consequence of that kind of inward looking is also the growth of compassion. And I want to take that one step further because what I'm currently working on is thinking about how mindfulness, with its focus on lawyers and judges and prosecutors, can then become a way of changing the criminal justice, the whole system, the legal system. I'm working on an experiment in the criminal justice system in a city in California called San Jose. Big city in a very complicated metropolitan area. Silicon Valley is right next door, big money flow, and lots of very poor agricultural workers are also part of their gestalt. And what we're working with there is the idea that if we work with judges and prosecutors and public defenders, all in one municipal area, all in courtrooms together, we might be able to think about how a trial, what would a mindful trial look like? Or not just trials, but how would a criminal justice system work if everybody was committed to mindfulness in that system? And we did an intensive 5-week mindfulness and law program for the prosecutor's office, district attorney we call them. And we're doing that starting when I get back next week to the United States. We're going to start a program for the trial judges in that community. And after that, we're going to do a program for the public defenders. And we're going to see if we can get these people to cultivate these attitudes and these practices and to bring them into a courtroom together. So to increase the likelihood that the kind of situation you described in one courtroom where things fell together, that would become instead a kind of norm, where people were dealing with each other with focus and with attention, with respect and engagement with the full human. This is, for me, the cutting edge of this work at this time. Yep.
May I ask, is this a program an MBSR program or a compassion training, or is it combined one?
We're calling it mindfulness. MBSR is mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is a particular approach to mindfulness practice that you may have heard of. It was started by John Kabat-Zinn in the United States. It's now a large international movement. It's greatly influenced my thinking and the thinking of many other people. But we're calling our program mindfulness.
Okay.
And his, of course, focuses on the stress reduction side, where we're trying to focus on how do you build a more just and compassionate and fair society.
Yes. Okay.
How do you measure the effectiveness?
And how
Yeah.
we're working with some serious scientists who design research stuff, and as we actually implement this, if we ever can, we will have, the best that they can give us to help evaluate whether this is really working. Now, we're talking about some, you're never going to have a scientific answer to whether we've really improved the quality of our justice system and made it more humane and compassionate. But we can work at it, and as I say, I'm no research scientist, but I'm working with some people who are. And as I said earlier, the scientific community is paying attention to mindfulness in a way that it had been completely off the radar screen in 1975. And now there are thousands of articles in refereed journals published every year. Last question.
Yeah, I was still thinking about the comment you made with your students that were required by you to go into another class and be mindful. You said one person succeeded, or in his opinion succeeded, and the other didn't because of maybe because of the size of the class, right? There were 100 students, and there was a lot of mindlessness. That's why they didn't succeed if you enter there as the only one being mindful. But what's your position on the fact that, for example, in the Netherlands, the courts here, there used to be 19 courts, and the greatly reduced number of courts now that have to span a bigger area, so the court itself is bigger, more people are working there. The same applies for us. The prosecutors department are also getting bigger, more people stationed at the same place. So the opportunity or the chances of walking into a classroom of 100 students in this current era is much greater than it maybe used to be in the Netherlands in the case for 5 years ago. The chances of running into a 15-person class were bigger.
Yeah.
So has there been done any research? What's your position on it? Is it better to have small classes than bigger classes, but then maybe looking at the legal system? It's a broad question, but I think that you get the
Yeah.
gist of it.
Yeah, I think we have to be very skillful in how we address large groups. I think that to do this work with real intensity requires a lot of small group interaction and a sense of community among the people who are participating in it. So I think there is a kind of natural limit of say 15 to 20 people. But if you've got an office with 200 people, like in the San Jose prosecutor's office, you can have 10 groups of 20 people if you really want to do this. So then you got to do that. Okay. Listen, we've got to leave the room, and I want to thank you for your attention. And
Charlie, thank you so much. Thank you for your generosity to share all of this with us, to come here already for the second time. It's such an honor and pleasure to listen to you and be with you. I want to tell you that the money you paid for today is going to be spent on the Mindful Justice project that Charlie is working on. And also for the drinks that we have outside. So I want to invite you to go outside and have drinks and talk a bit further. And we have your email addresses, and if you'd like, we can always keep you informed on anything that we organize, or just contact me if you want to be involved. Is there anything else I need to say? Yes, because we are organizing a workshop of 2 days for professional lawyers in November and December. And if you want to sign up, you get €25 discount. So, thank you very much.